In this video, we'll see these letters
tzadi,
and its end form,
tzadi soffit,
and also
kuf,
and
resh.
let's go. I hope you still remember Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dalet, and Hey. And also
vav, zayin, chet, tet, yod, kaf, kaf soffit, chaf, chaf soffit,
Lamed, Mem, Mem soffit, Nun, and Nun soffit.
samech, ayin, pe, fe, fe soffit,
And now, we're ready to see
tzadi, tzadi soffit, kuf,
and
resh.
And remember, in Hebrew, some letters are written differently when they are found at the end of a word. The end form of such letters are called
soffit,
In previous videos, we've already seen
kaf soffit, chaf soffit, mem soffit, nun soffit, fe soffit,
and now, we'll see the last soffit letter.
tzadi soffit. tzadi soffit,
Is the end form of the letter.
tzadi,
So, whenever the sound of tzadi is the last sound of a word, it is the soffit form that is written. Regarding vowels, we will see more examples of the nikud signs that we have seen before. Note that the nikud signs for the vowel a always have a little flat line. And the nikud signs for the vowel a always have a minimum of 2 little dots below a letter, so remember E for egg, and it really looks like eggs being laid below. Now, the vowel E is like the dot below an exclamation point, so remember it like the exclamation of a shriek during an injection. And the nikud sign for the vowel O is always a dot on top of a letter. Now, let's take a close look at the letters.
tzadi, tzadi,
Tzadi has the sound of T and S pronounced together. Let's pronounce the sound tsa, tsa, tsa. And as we have seen earlier, tzadi has an end form.
tzadi soffit,
This is the way we write tzadi when its sound is the last sound of a word. And here's the letter kuf.
kuf,
Note that some people say
kof, kuf,
it has the sound of K. Ka. There's another letter which has the sound of K. Do you remember it? It's the letter kaf. Kaf also has the K sound. Now, here's the letter resh.
resh, resh,
It has the sound of R. Here are some tips for remembering the sounds of tzadi, kuf, and resh. When you think of tzadi, think of the final sound of the word boots. Oots, oots. And to remember the sound of kuf, think of the K of kung fu. Now, to remember the sound of resh, think of a rake. It has the R sound, and it also looks like the letter resh. Let's see examples of words that contain these letters. Here's a word that starts with the letter tzadi and ends with the letter resh.
tzipor, tzipor, tzipor,
Is the Hebrew word for bird. It is formed by these letters.
tzadi, yod, pe, vav, resh.
The word sipor has two nikud signs. Under the tzadi is the nikud sign for pronouncing the sound E, as in igloo. This nikud sign is called
חיריק,
and over the letter vav is the nikud sign for pronouncing an O sound. This nikud sign is called
חולם מלא,
So, we have the sound C, plus a P, plus an O, and then an R. So we say,
ציפור, ציפור,
now let's see this example, where the sound of the letter tzadi is the last sound of a word.
ארץ, ארץ,
This is the Hebrew word for land, country, ground, soil, or territory.
ארץ,
Has the sound of tzadi at the end. That's why we write the soffit form of the letter.
tzadi סופית, ארץ,
Is formed by an aleph, a resh, and a tzadi soffit. Note that there are two nikud signs for pronouncing a short E sound as in egg. This nikud sign is called
סגול,
If you remember, aleph is a silent letter, so it adopts the pronunciation indicated by the nikud sign that is placed on it. That's why we pronounce it here as the sound of E, as in the E of egg. And the letter resh is pronounced as
ר,
and the last sound is the sound of tzadi. So, we say,
ארץ,
and now, let's see a word which contains the letter kuf.
ירוק, ירוק,
It is the Hebrew word for the color green. We write it with a yod, a resh, a vav, and a kuf. Note that under the yod is a kamatz, the nikud sign for pronouncing a long A sound. And on top of the letter vav is the nikud sign for pronouncing an O sound. So, we have a ya, an R, an O, and a K. That's why we say,
ירוק, ירוק,
Now, let's review the letters. I hope you still remember aleph, bet, vet, gimel, dalet, and hey, and also
וו, זין, ח', ט', יוד, כ', כ' סופית, כ', כ' סופית,
lamed, mem, mem soffit, noon, and noon soffit.
סמך, עין, פה, פה, פה סופית,
And now, you also know
צדי, צדי סופית, קוף,
and
רש,
you also saw
צדי סופית,
the end form of the letter.
צדי,
So, whenever the sound of tzadi is the last sound of a word, it is the soffit form that is written. Regarding vowels, we have seen more examples of these different nikud signs. Note that the nikud signs for the vowel A always have a little flat line. And the nikud signs for the vowel A always have a minimum of two little dots below a letter. So remember E for egg, and it really looks like eggs being laid below. Now, the vowel E is like the dot below an exclamation point, so remember it like the exclamation of a shriek during an injection. And the nikud sign for the vowel O is always a dot on top of a letter. Now, let's review the letters and words we've seen. Can you identify the letter tzadi? And can you spot tzadi soffit? Now try to spot the letter kuf. And finally, spot the letter resh. Now, let's say these words.
ציפור, ארץ, ירוק,
So, please remember these letters
tzadi,
and its end form,
tzadi soffit,
and also
kuf,
and.
resh.
In the next video, we'll see the final letters of the Hebrew alphabet.